Your girl here. I just wanted to hop on here and have a chat. Last weekend, I did this thing on my stories where I was just asking people to ask me any question, and I had a great interaction with you guys. So much fun. And one of the questions that came out was something that I wanted to expound upon with the chat. So somebody was asking me that my faith seems grounded and it seems strong. How can one go about growing their faith? And or how did you grow your faith? And my simple answer to that question was suffering. It's not the one that people want to hear, but that's what I said. I said suffering. The Bible terms it as trials and tribulations, but the very simple English way of saying it is suffering. So it's a little bit of an oxymoron that the same thing that has the potential to completely draw you away from God. So many times I've heard people's very genuine stories about how, because of what they've gone through, or because of the suffering they've endured, it's really made it hard for them to have faith in God, to believe that God exists, or to believe that God hears them and answers them. And yet that is the exact same tool that God has provided for us to grow in our faith in Him and our trust in Him. And so I wanted to hop on here and kind of expound on that topic, and obviously, as usual, give you a scriptural reference for where I'm coming from. So the title of this chat is going to be, or is, Jesus wept. Simple as that. So the passage we're going to be grounding this on is John 11. So the shortest verse in the whole Bible is John 11:35, and it's Jesus wept. 2 words, 2 very simple words, and yet they carry so much weight. Jesus wept is the verse that tells us that God is not removed from our pain, from our suffering. He's not this God who is far away from us, such that He cannot relate to us, or that He looks at our suffering with disdain or even laughing at it. It is the reminder that along with us, God's response to our pain is weeping. So in order for you to have a context of why Jesus wept, you need to read the verses before that. So John 11. I don't know why I keep on saying John 15. John 11 is starting off with not really introducing us, because we have met Martha and Mary previously, but he's at least setting the scene for what's going on. So you've got Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. They are the known friends of Jesus. So known because every single time Jesus was in town, that's where He would stay. So everyone knew that Mary, Martha, and Lazarus were friends of Jesus. So much so when Lazarus became gravely ill, they sent a word to Jesus to say that, look, Lazarus, your friend, even the Bible has quoted in that way, Lazarus, your friend, is sick. Please come. And Jesus responded to that request by saying that this sickness is not unto death. It is for the glory of God. And I'm sure when you're hearing Jesus say that, you're like, hey, fam, I can breathe easy now, because it's not unto death. Then Jesus says something that doesn't quite make sense. In verse 6, so Jesus keeps on what He's doing. And in verse 6, it says, Jesus loved Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. That statement is there for everyone to see. The statement that Jesus loved Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. The next statement is what doesn't make sense. It starts off with so. So the synonym in this context would be therefore. It would be and then. So it is a continuation. The reason this next sentence is saying the reason why He's going to do what's happening next is because of what He said before. That's why it said so. That's why you would put therefore. it is the very justification for what is about to come next. So he's starting off by saying Jesus loved Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. So he stayed 2 more days. It doesn't make sense. Somebody has just told you your friend is gravely ill. You've got the ability to heal him. And you declare that you love them. And then because you love them, you stay 2 more days. It doesn't make sense. But what that tells me is that, and before I say what I'm going to say, I'll talk about what goes later on in the passage. So by the time we read, we see Jesus weeping in verse 35. He has reached the funeral home. Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. And Martha has run up to him. And no, it isn't before Martha runs up to him. And Jesus is there and he's seeing people weeping and wailing for the death of Lazarus. And Jesus wept. This whole passage is a reminder that we serve a God who doesn't relish our suffering. That despite the suffering being needed, despite it culminating in his glory being shown, because despite Jesus knowing that he had the power to resurrect Lazarus, despite him knowing that this was to the glory of God, despite him knowing that this was necessary, he knew all that. But he saw people weeping, and his response to that was, he wept. It's a reminder that despite our suffering being necessary for the glory to come, despite God knowing the end from the beginning and the result that's going to happen from this, and that result being good because he works everything out for our good, despite the fact that he knows that you're going to pull through, and he's going to take you out of it, or he's going to walk you through it. He knows the end of this. Despite all that, God is the God who sits with you in your weeping, in the suffering. So I wanted to bring that angle to it, because sometimes we think that in the midst of our suffering, in the midst of the pain, my pastor and mentor likes to say that pain loves company. Like, it loves to build on itself. And so it'll make everything about itself. And so it's so easy to be in a space of pain, of suffering, and to then filter everything else through that pain and suffering. But I'm here to remind you that in the midst of that, God is not relishing it. God is not away from it. Instead, it is a call for you to invite God into that space. Because when God sees you in pain, he weeps. I'll end here.